Hello, I'm Gary. Welcome to Alternative Interactions. Today we're going to be looking at how grand buildings and buildings of the past were heated, and how fireplaces weren't fireplaces as we know today. This links on to a previous video I did on cathedrals, Tartaria and power grids. So we're going to be looking at how they heated their houses back in the day, and I think you're going to find it very interesting. So with no babble, I shall carry on. So, as I mentioned on the introduction previously, we showed this slide before, which was part of the Tartaria power grid. So I just want you to keep this image in mind, understanding the principles, and if you can remember what we were talking about and how they worked. And again, this is a big old Tartarian building, and here we have the twin towers with the electrical capture devices and free energy devices intact. So this is just for reference, just so you can see and remember. Now, a year or so ago, during the winter months, we went round this hall. Now this is Holkham Hall on the North Norfolk coast. It's massive and absolutely stunning inside. Lots of lovely photos and paintings, sorry, not photos. It's on a massive estate. But I thought I'd just show you this picture briefly, because on the top of these turrets we still have energy capturing devices, and this column at the back here would have been an energy capture device as well, which would have worked in tandem with this building to create free wireless energy for the consumption of the building. So anybody who goes to Norfolk in the UK, I would highly recommend going here. It's very interesting. They actually do tours in the winter as such, and in the summer where you can go around the house and have a good poke around. Lots of amazing things to see, I can assure you. But today we're going to focus on fireplaces. So this is one of the rooms. Please bear in mind they're all decorated up for us to show, but what I was really interested in was the technology inside. Now this is one of the fireplaces, and we have a bird. I wonder if that's a phoenix, golden phoenix above. There was an awful lot of Romanesque statues around in this building, very interesting, very ornate marble fireplaces, and all the fireplaces were virtually intact in this building, which was very nice. And by intact I mean they still had their original technology. And what we have here is, this is the technology and how they used to heat their buildings. Because I can't imagine a smoky old fire, all the damage this would have caused. I mean, obviously it wouldn't have had this fluffy stuff around it, but I'll be showing you some images in the future of some very ornate rooms and such like, and it's inconceivable that wood and coal would have been burnt at the time of these buildings' foundation. These buildings date back to at least the 15th century, 16th century. They're very, very old buildings. And here's a close-up, and what we see is a round ball, a round area, another round ball going on into a grid and a back plate. and we'll go through this in more detail shortly, but let's look at a few more images first. Again, this is another fireplace within the building. Again, lovely bits of marble round, beautiful, and we see the round metal work, the round balls, which looks identical to the top of the buildings that I showed you in the Tartarian power grid video. We also have the metal back plate and the surround. In this case they've put wood and kindling in to show the effect that it was a fire, but I don't believe so. And here again we can see the technology. I suspect this would have had mercury or something inside it to create the resonance and the vibrational spin to create heat. Now this I think is Holkham Hall. Again, we have the same principle. We have a metal surround coming up and the back plate. This is a very old image of a library, and here we can see the fireplace, but it doesn't look like anything's really been burnt in there. There's no particular burning paraphernalia. What an ornate, beautiful room. Can you imagine a wood fire going in there and all the dust on all the books? They wouldn't last 5 minutes. But what we do have again is metalwork going in, a balled system and a back plate. This is Fifth Avenue, the fireplace, the mantel chimney piece of the library of William H. And again you can see how ornate all this is, and we have the technology that's still left over, not working anymore because that grid system has been removed. The cathedrals and such like no longer produce the power, but if they did, I can assure you these would get very hot very quickly. Here's another example. Again, twin pillared to create the resonance back plate of metal. And again, this fireplace does not look like it's burnt a lot of material. Another example. This time we don't have a back plate, but we do have columns, or actually that is I think the back plate, and you can see the metal sticking out from there to give it some kind of design. But again we have the twin columns, the metal work, framework connecting with the straps going into the back wall. Too many coincidences, too many pictures, too many grand old houses with exactly the same kind of system. Here we go. This is obviously in France, and we have the twin system and the back plate, and look at all this beautiful grand work around it. Stunning. And here we have another example. This is again in France. Now this does look like it has burnt wood in the past, or such like, but fundamentally we have exactly the same system. We have a metal work going into the back, into a fancy ornate area with the twin columns, and we actually have more here. And so the free wireless energy would have come down the chimney or via the back part of the chimney via the metal work frame of the building. And we are talking, 12, 13, 1400s. This technology was going. And so what we have is the energy would have come down. The energy would travel through, just like a wire would today. These would resonate and produce heat, and so that would heat the room. And this would be a 24-hour heating system, and it would stay hot continuously day and night. And so it wouldn't be like we have a modern heating where the radiators come on and go off, come on, go off. I mean, obviously you could if you wanted to, but fundamentally this would have kept going all through the winter and producing a nice heat, keeping the rooms at a nice temperature. And during the summer months this would be turned off, and the use of the chimney would be a backdraft and flow to pull hot air out of the rooms to go up the chimney, not for drawing smoke from a fire. It's my belief how these worked. Again, we can see this huge grand room, beautiful. We have a very small fireplace in a very big room. A fire in there would not produce a lot of heat, but this entire thing warming up and heating up, and the marble being warm to the touch, almost hot to the touch, via the free energy, would have kept this room nice and warm. Now here we have some from a brochure book, I believe, and these are fireplaces that you could purchase, and you can see just how ornate they are, but also these are like cathedral points, and so these would potentially have been additional energy capture devices to run the fireplace. And all we're missing here is the metal work. So I should imagine you could have gone out at the time and you could order yourself the latest style in fireplace, and then you would put in your own metal work as such, your own heat capture device. And here we have a very old print, and we can clearly see that there's no signs of fire in this fireplace. And okay, we can't see any modern tech in there either, but there's no wood, there's no fire being burnt there, there's nothing to stop it rolling out onto the floor. Now I do wonder with the plate here if this is so advanced that the actual tech is inside the side pillars, because to clean this and keep this in pristine condition with soot and ash from a fire going up would soon destroy and take out all of this beautiful artwork and sacred geometry. Another thing to notice in these buildings is just how tall they are. We notice that in a lot of the old buildings that they are at least double heighted. Now I believe they're double heighted because people weren't this small. When the buildings were built, they were built for bigger people, and you can often see in doorways, so we'll take this as, for instance, as a doorway, even though it's not, but we'll take it as an example, that the doorway is far higher than need be, and often in many grand houses in today's modern era what we find is that a piece of board has been put across here to make the door normal height, so it's not double or 2/3 height that's needed. Now in this picture, these guys are dressed in French attire, a bit like the Musketeer era, and they are actually burning something. But with all this tech up here, I believe this is probably part of the tech, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's one behind him. We're probably looking at a stage in history when the technology has been destroyed, and so they are using the fireplaces now for fire. But considering they're burning, look how pristine and clean this marble is. There's no soot. I mean, this picture is very detailed. You can see the painting on the wall, the detail in that, and you can see how detailed everything is. But there's no soot, there's no staining, everything is pristine and clean. I don't think that fire had been burning for many years, certainly not hundreds of years, which it would have had to have been had there not been technology in there. Here we have another example, twin plates, the metal backing. It would have resonated out all the heat. We do have some Latin across the top here. I can't read Latin, so if anyone can and would like to interpret that and see if there's a date there or something, please do. But as you can see, we have the technology in there, and though it looks like they've been burning material, obviously being a photograph, at the time when photographs were first coming out, the technology from the Tartarian power grid system was being turned off at that time. And there we go. Hello. So it's only a brief overview, but I think you can clearly see that there's too many similarities. I could put my teeth in a minute. Across other buildings across France and such like, that have all the same kind of similar technology as the ones in the UK's grand houses. These were etheric heating systems that used the ether to power them for free. It just shows you, when they say that we're technologically advanced today, we're really not, because the heating system would have been in balance with the people who lived there, and it would have been beneficial energy that they were walking around in, not the current soup that we currently have that is not necessarily the best for the human body, being the fact that we are electrical beings. So the free wireless energy that they were using from the ether is just the standard air. They weren't using radio waves as such, and they weren't using cell towers or such like to produce this wireless energy. It came from the atmosphere, and the atmosphere that we're meant to live in harmony and balance. So I hope you found that interesting. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.